There are fewer words that can be spoken in 2019 that would spark a more polarizing response than Red Dead Online. Some like it, some hate it, and others want so badly to love it. But man, has it turned into something that makes that real hard. This is not a case of a bad game being bad. This is a case of a great game being wasted, which is infinitely more upsetting than the former reality. Red Dead Online is not awful, it's even good in some ways. But it released last year with more potential than any other online multiplayer game in modern memory. A beautifully detailed, mechanic-rich Rockstar world set in the Old West that you can explore and interact with right alongside your friends. If that isn't the greatest elevator pitch since kids live in a treehouse and solely operate a spy syndicate, then I don't know what is. Rockstar has made literally hundreds of millions of dollars annually off of GTA Online for the past few years. GTA 5 has been a cash cow unlike anything gamers have ever seen. The most successful entertainment property of all time. Rockstar, without a doubt, wanted to emulate that financial success with their next release. So it might be a bit surprising, given gaming's most recent trends, that Red Dead Online's biggest problems go beyond company wants to make more money. It isn't necessarily greed that is sinking Red Dead Online's proverbial ship, and that's what's kind of confusing. Today we're going to take a dive into Red Dead Online and see exactly what has changed about Red Dead, why it has gone downhill so quickly, but we're also going to look at the good things, the thing it does right, the things that have been fixed since launch. I mean, this isn't all bad. Red Dead Online is not all bad. I want to make that abundantly clear. But I do think it is important to look at where it's headed, where it is now, and what Rockstar has done with it, and why people are so upset with it. I think that's really important for people thinking about getting into this game today. So, to get started... I remember being little and playing this game where one kid would pick up a football and 30 other kids would try to mess his life up permanently until he dropped it. That game was more fun than riding around in free play online for most of its current life. Griefing was a tremendous problem in Red Dead Online in ways that actually make GTA Online's griefing seem fun. See, at least there, you have the winding streets of Los Santos, cars to drive that operate at different speeds. At least you sometimes felt like you had a fighting chance. Here, it feels like you were never able to breathe. Players could see your blip from anywhere on the map, making it incredibly easy to track you down and mercilessly slaughter you over and over again. And better yet, because of a massive problem I'll discuss in a little, it was actually one of the only activities players were engaging in after getting bored almost immediately. Because of the depletion of content in Red Dead Online, griefing became a sport. What could have curved it, actual real content, wasn't there. So playing Red Dead Online was like participating in a Western version of The Purge. Rockstar accidentally created their own annoying battle royale. But since launch, this has changed. Praise Jeebus. Now player blips operate on a proximity system, so you can only see other players within a certain range of you. This makes exploring the world feel a bit more organic, it makes stumbling upon another player feel more exciting and less like a duel to the death, and it also prevents professional griefers from following their prey all around the world. Another way Rockstar attempted to solve the griefing problem was by creating a more engaging bounty system. You could pick up a bounty now on your head by griefing, but not through self-defense. Problematically, however, things like bar fights now created bounties as well, and people were accidentally getting bounties put on their head, thus creating a different spiraling issue of bounties being too plentiful. Regardless, while the griefing problem has tapered off, it certainly hasn't disappeared. You'll be extremely lucky to come across another player in the world that wants any interaction with you at all outside of pure, pulpy death. If Red Dead Online is supposed to be an emergent world where cowboys and girls coexist and interact in a semi-realistic portrayal of the West, this isn't quite there yet. It is still in far too many ways a griefer's paradise. But that leads into the best and the second worst of online. Let me tell you what the number one cause of marital strife is. Discovering your partner loves The Big Bang Theory. Too much time spent building bionicles? No, that's right, it's money. Money seems to be a problem in all facets of life. Red Dead Online is no exception. See, RDO is in so many ways spectacular. In almost every way, though, it's thanks to the realities that already exist in single player, but with friends. Riding around the West is a serene, gorgeous, and immersive experience. Doing it with a band of cowboy friends just heightens that. Completing missions together as a beautiful score lays the background for your exploits. Hunting for pelts together, it's all great until you realize what all your efforts add up to. Nothing, really. Progression in Red Dead Online is extremely grindy, slow, and at this point without real incentive. This is even after they updated the economy post-launch to be more rewarding. It doesn't help that since fixing it, Rockstar has made this worse, not better. See, for a time, the best way to make money in the game was hunting. It was efficient, rewarding, and it gave players a reason to actually explore the world, get out there and take it in. Apparently, according to Rockstar, this was thanks to a glitch that was rewarding you too much for your hunts. In Rockstar's infinite wisdom, they realized that gamers will probably revolt if we keep making things too enjoyable for them, so let's go ahead and live action Scooby-Doo this thing. They stealth nerfed hunting in a big way, bringing it in line with the far less rewarding single-player economy. And by stealth nerfed, I mean changed it, left it out of the patch notes, and didn't acknowledge it at all until they were called out for it. Most players, myself included, believe that these decisions are likely made for the same reason most Rockstar decisions have been made recently, to push players towards microtransactions. This game is not in beta. It's not. Everything is monetized, even emotes. The problem is, for Rockstar and the player, money is next to useless. This isn't GTA Online. The progression isn't there. There are no mansions to buy, businesses to operate, cars and planes to collect. Essentially, you're just grinding to grind. For your horse? Okay, sure. For an outfit? Awesome. For some weaponry? Alrighty. All these things become meaningless so quickly. So Rockstar's economy is unbalanced and also doesn't give players a good reason to engage with it anyways. When the most recent wave of emotes dropped, they could cost as much as $300 in-game dollars for an animation, and that doesn't count the ones that you could purchase with gold bars. Those gold bars purchasable with real-world money. Everything in the game can be grinded for and earned, which is great, but let's talk about why people are sick of that grind anyways. When Red Dead Online first dropped, I was excited. It had a narrative structure, a whole suite of characters. There seemed to be a lot of promise, but promises are meant to be broken. Isn't that right, PlayStation Now? Oh, no backwards compatibility on the PS4 is fine because you can now stream all your favorite PS3 games, except it barely works and will make you miserable every second you attempt to play it. That, ladies and gentlemen, is what holding an off-topic grudge looks like. Red Dead Online's promises broke just as fast. There is a narrative structure in Red Dead Online. You go on some relatively cool missions, ones that are at the very least similar to the ones in single player, but it lasts an incredibly short time, has no overarching narrative through line, and ends about as inconclusively and abruptly as your happiness after eating a full meal at Chili's. I expected it to be added to over the following few months. It really wasn't. And this would be fine, even the abrupt nature of it, even the short nature of it, if the rest of online was stuffed full of content that matched the fun of completing missions and exploring the Old West in single player just with your friends. It doesn't. See, a part of this is the restrictions of realism and setting, which I'll get back to later in this piece, but there's a lot to do in GTA Online. I mean a lot, because there's a lot of wild technology and recreational activities that exist in that modern setting. Red Dead Online's got some cars and some horses. This is not Rockstar's fault. Blame Doc Brown for not bringing more technology back to the Old West. But there's no way around the fact that Red Dead Online is lacking massively in the content department, and it gets boring fast. After that small narrative, you can grind out hunts and bounties for cosmetics, but all that's really left are the multiplayer modes and horse races. They're fun enough, your deathmatch modes, mini battle royales, new modes that add control-like elements and larger scale battles, but still, to this day, they aren't enough to retain most players' interest long term. There simply isn't enough to do to maintain a player base. There's fun to be had, that's certainly true, but it's so often fleeting that sometimes it almost feels like you can literally sense the player count dwindling minute to minute, which is a shame because as I mentioned from the jump, this should be amazing. It had the foundation of something incredible. There's so much potential here, but it might never coalesce into nearly what it should be. Part of this is also due to the fact that the new player experience is still quite hostile. Hopping in with nothing means being at a disadvantage in multiplayer, which rewards the grind and stack players, being at a disadvantage against griefers, and feeling the isolation that the game now often exhibits. And this is all if you don't end up dealing with some of the game's bigger issues. Red Dead Online has had a myriad of very real technical issues since launch. There have been times where an update will cause the world to completely empty out of human life for players. Times where players would spawn into worlds with absolutely no non-NPC players in the world with them. Some missions simply don't start, or better yet, glitch midway through and become entirely impossible to complete, as well as the typical Red Dead bugs like horses glitching out and facial hair doing strange things. But these can and often do end up being ironed out by Rockstar relatively quickly. Red Dead Online, however, has a more foundational issue that I'm not sure Rockstar is going to be capable of solving, and an issue I think that, unfortunately, people are just going to have to eventually come to terms with. Red Dead Online's player count appears to be dropping, at least anecdotally. Rockstar had to have known that this was never going to be another GTA Online. They weren't going to be bringing in hundreds of millions of dollars each quarter for years thanks to this game. It just isn't built for that. It isn't built for streaming. It isn't even built for content creation. You know, the things that get the word of mouth out there and actually build these communities, at least in the modern gaming space as it exists today. GTA Online, like I alluded to earlier, allows for Rockstar to get imaginative with what they offer players. Tanks, races in the sky, jets, absurd cosmetics, because it all makes sense in that world. But Rockstar wanted Red Dead Redemption 2 to be defined by its realism. They wanted the game to feel as authentic as technologically possible. It takes a year to get on and off your horse, you'll fall over the tiniest bump in the ground, you can shoot the hats off your enemies. Where GTA 5's Los Santos and its single-player experience were built around ridiculous, absurdist satire, meant not to be taken seriously, meant to be a little fantasy-like, what Rockstar accomplished with Red Dead Redemption is maybe the truest vision of the Old West that modern AAA games has ever offered players. It's immersive realism. And this is all wonderful when you're in single-player, experiencing the story at your own pace. But in multiplayer, it puts Rockstar in a position where they know that horse racing can't evolve much further than that, and the foundational realism that built the game will prevent them from ever overtly shifting what's already there on offer. Red Dead Online player base, for the most part, knows this. RDO doesn't appear to be growing in concurrent players, again, at least anecdotally, but I actually genuinely believe that RDO may be a peripheral focus for the studio due to all of these things. I think we will see the return of single-player expansions in a Rockstar game. I think we may see some sort of sequel to Undead Nightmare. And I believe that what would be best for not only the base game, but for online, would be those expansions, giving Rockstar the opportunity to weird up the multiplayer alongside the single player, benefiting both aspects of the game. Look, Red Dead Online is an anomaly in 2019. It's a game that sits somewhere in the middle of that AAA multiplayer space. It isn't the most played game around, it isn't making the most money, it's just in a middling state. And I can't imagine that the studio expected anything different. But what it leaves me with is a question. Will this game ever actually receive the long-term support that GTA Online received? I mean, is it going to be updated as frequently? Is it going to change as much as GTA Online has changed? Or is this kind of what it is now and is going to be forever? I mean, sure, it will be polished by Rockstar. It will get better technically, and certainly content will be added, but will Rockstar continue to focus on it knowing the state it's in now, or will they begin to shift their focus to a single-player expansion that can make them a bulk of money right away and kind of move forward onto the next thing, which presumably is GTA 6, even though it's been said that game is years away? Will this be the 4, 5, 6 year journey that GTA Online was? Will the player base be there to support it for that long? I mean, Red Dead Online has some hardcore fans. It's got a base of players that are really committed to seeing this game through and watching it evolve, and I hate how much they're being disappointed consistently with what Rockstar is and more importantly isn't doing this experience. This is an instance where I wish a studio would just come out and be honest. How much of a priority is this really to Rockstar? The player base deserves better than this. I hope sincerely that they get it sooner rather than later. Well guys, that is it for today's video, and as always, sort of a dialogue. What do you think of what Red Dead Online is? What do you think of Red Dead Online's possible future? And the thing that I'm most interested in is, do you guys want to see a single player expansion or expansions? Do you want to see a sequel to Undead Nightmare? Do you want to see Cowboys vs. Aliens, which has been thrown around a lot? I mean, do you want to see Rockstar finally get back to making kind of these subversive, weird side stories for single player? And do you think that would help the multiplayer, like I mentioned in the video? Let me know the answer to any of those questions down in the comments below. Let's have a real conversation. As always, if you enjoyed this video, hit that like button. If you are not yet a member of this team, press subscribe. I put out gaming analysis and examinations just like this one twice, sometimes 3 times a week, so hit subscribe so you do not miss any of those. And as always, if you did enjoy this video, I'm sorry. I put out more and more each and every week. Maybe you'll catch one of those. Maybe you'll enjoy that. But if not, thank you for giving me and this channel a shot. And until next time, guys, I'm out.